Hi, this is Angela with the Leadership Coach Group, and it is my pleasure to introduce to you one of our coaches, Mike Meydenbauer. Mike, it is so good to have time with you today. Thanks for taking time to join me.
My pleasure. Good morning, Angela.
I am wanting to be able to learn more about you as a coach. Can you share with me your coaching style?
So I generally will start with some assessments to get some data, and it develops common language as we move forward. But my style is really just ultimate presence with the client. I like to say, if there was a surfing analogy I could use, is we're out there in the lineup and we're going to surf whatever wave that client chooses to surf that day. We will, and generally this leads to goals and objectives that we've set forth in the beginning, but we spent a little bit of time talking about what's going on currently in their lives, and we spent some time on what the long-term goals and how that plays in and who they are. I think that's kind of how the flow goes.
And is there any certain tools or techniques that you frequently use within your coaching sessions?
I do. Thanks. I start off with generally kind of get a feel for what they're like, and we go over values. The PQ, positive intelligence saboteurs, are a great one, which I've come to like. Calling cards, which helps you, depending on what the client is looking to do, to help them find that out or discover it or see themselves in a new light. As far as leadership goes, I really enjoy the leadership circle profile and all the data and the model that provides. I think it's super rich and really allows you to see where you see yourself, how your folks and see you as showing up, and then we go from there.
Thinking of those challenges or opportunities for improvement that you help to pull out from clients, are there any particular ones that you enjoy helping clients to overcome the most?
Absolutely. I love helping people see their true genius. A lot of folks, and I've been there before, the doubt that we hold inside that holds us back. I love helping spark that inspiration in folks to go out there and try new things and discover what they really can accomplish.
And do you have any ways that you would describe ideal clients that you work the best with?
My ideal client is somebody who wants to improve. That's really it. If the client is coming looking to improve, we're going to make magic happen. We're going to really do some wonderful things. And I think I've only had one who was there at the request of somebody else and didn't really want to get into it. But yeah, I think that's my ideal client. If generally leadership and effectiveness, that's a joy that I love to talk about with my background. So that's definitely rich, but I think the ultimate part is if there's desire, we're going to make some magic happen.
I know that you really enjoy helping bring out the best of others and motivating them, encouraging them to grow, but what encouraged you initially that you wanted to start coaching?
Good. So I was in the Navy, and just naturally back in the early years, probably 15 years ago, the mentoring role turned into coaching. I had a mentor who I found they would get more out of me by asking questions rather than telling me what I should do. And I adopted that principle. And I was having lunch with a colleague last year, and he just said, he reminded me of an instance back when we were living in Senegal. He's like, Mike, that's what you've been doing for 10, 15 years now. This is great now that you're doing it full time. So bringing that spark of inspiration, somebody to figure out their own desires, their own needs, and get out of the shoulds and get into what is it that's best for me, not what other people think I should be doing. That's kind of where I started to fall into this love of coaching.
And I know that you were in leadership roles in the Navy, that obviously you have colleagues from the past that remembered you as being a coach to them before you even recognized that you were. But what were some professional highlights and accomplishments that you think of whenever you reflect back on that time period?
Yeah, I think my tour in Morocco, where we had a small office of maybe 10 people, we did such amazing things and set all kinds of records, and you never would have known we were even working. It was just so much fun in that office. And there were some principles in there that we came up with, which was we established kind of a communication culture, if you will, with feedback culture, constantly giving each other, seeking feedback, and having moments and systems in place to provide that, and then letting people go with their ideas, bringing out that creative genius from the group and letting people run with it, as long as we were keeping within these guidelines that we needed to move forward with the U.S. strategic relationship with Morocco. That's one. And then another one was when, believe it or not, I was put in charge of a large conference, and I wanted nothing to do with this conference, believe it or not. I was kind of forced to run it, and I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know how to start, and we got a group of people together, and again, just setting that intention in the group that let's see what we can put together. And it turned out being one of the best conferences ever, and it brought in 180 people from around Africa and Europe and in the Washington D.C. area, and just turned out to be such a great event that I remember when it was all over, reflecting upon when I was first told I was going to be in charge of that conference, and I had no idea what I was going to do, and then it turned out to this amazing event. That's another one that I bring with the importance of that creative genius of the group, and not thinking that the leader has to have all the answers, but the leader's role is to bring out the best in everyone in order to create the most perfect experience.
Where do you live at now, and where all have you lived previously?
Sure. I'm in Washington, D.C. area, in Arlington, Virginia now. I spent a decade in San Diego, flying with the Navy. And then I took on a diplomat role, and we moved overseas to Paris. And we lived in Paris, we lived in Senegal, we lived in Morocco. So we were overseas for 7 years before we came back to the DC area.
Well, a lot of cultural experiences I'm sure you've been exposed to, and that you can pull from as well from that.
Absolutely. I believe it or not, I think the most interesting place to live was Senegal, because people were happy with so little, and how fun it was just to be around folks who were happy all the time. Morocco is exciting with all the different rich cultural places to visit. The people there were an interesting mix between the Arab and North African communities. And then Paris was Paris, right? I mean, it's such a different place to live. Ironically, what I also came to realize is all the amazing things we have in the U.S., right? And the richness that we have here, and how I had filtered some of that richness out because it's where I came from. And for a while there, I didn't think it was special. And I had to retune kind of my perception to see all the amazing things we have in our own country as well.
That is a very interesting perspective that not everyone gets to have. Tell me something else that you are passionate about, something that you really enjoy.
You know, I'm passionate about the deep conversation with people. I love just having those great talks with folks. And if I do this exercise with folks, if you could, money and image were no object, what would you do? And my choice is to travel around the world talking with people and just gaining different perspectives. I really found that everyone has an amazing story to tell, and the real question is whether you're willing to find it and listen to it.
Well, Mike, it was a pleasure getting to know you a little bit better, getting to talk with you and spend time with you today. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Angela. Appreciate it.